Vinje Eulogy, 1932 to 2020. Vinje Eulogy was born November 10, 1932, to Peter and Laura Lagerquist on a farm in Bear River, Minnesota. Virginia was the 12th of 13 children. The farm was homesteaded by her grandparents in 1904 and is still in her family today. The farm and surrounding land have never been owned by any other family. Life on the farm was hard, but it was all she knew. Every night the kids would bring in wood for the cooking stove, no matter how cold it was. When they got older, they had to milk the cows for a nickel apiece twice a day. At one point, there were 30 cows. Every day, there was a different chore to do. On Sunday nights, they would bring in water from the wells in preparation for laundry on Monday. It was hung out to dry on the clothesline all year round. They were 30 miles from town on gravel roads, and it would take an hour each way to make that trip. Also, they did not have electricity until the late 40s or early 50s. The Christmas tree went up on Christmas Eve and came down on New Year's Day. The tree had real candles on it that they would light with a match. Family would gather around the tree to sing Christmas carols and dance around it, which was a tradition her father brought over from Sweden. She enjoyed those times. When she was younger, she was a member of the 4-H club. One year they had to write a story about what they learned. She said she was the worst writer and hated composition. "I am not a storyteller," she said. I beg to differ. Growing up, she went to the local schools. For her higher education, she moved in with her brother Dick and his wife Lila to Hibbing High School. She graduated in June 1950, and due to no jobs at the time, on January 1st, 1951, she moved to Minneapolis at the age of 18 and lived there the rest of her life. After she moved to Minneapolis, she had a roommate who worked nights at Honeywell. One night, she and Ginny had a party where she met her future husband, Lyle Vinje, who was her roommate's co-worker. They just hit it off. She described him as a gentleman from a family of 8 kids. When she met him, he had just gotten back from the Korean War, where he had been drafted after previously being with the Merchant Marines for 6 years. She said he had just gotten back and was at loose ends and didn't know what was going on. They married and ended up having 6 kids. "I was just like my mother," she said. "I popped them out every 2 years." The union of Virginia and Lyle produced David, Debbie, Judy, Laura, Gary, and Tom. Not to mention 14 grandkids, 13 great-grandkids, and so far, 4 great-great-grandkids. It is one hell of a legacy. Ginny's first job was in Minneapolis at First National Bank, located downtown at 5th and Marquette. She was a messenger and had to walk blocks and blocks, even in winter, to deliver and return correspondence between the bank and their clients. This was a great way to get to know Minneapolis quickly. She also ran the adding machine and was quite good at it. She worked at the bank for 3 years and quit when she became pregnant. When they called her to come back to work for them, she was pregnant again and never returned. She stayed home with her kids for 15 years until she started working part-time at Sears in the catalog department, filling orders. Her next job for Sears was cutting shades, where some days she would cut up to 300 shades a day. She also worked in the office when computers first came on the scene. She worked on them a little, nothing advanced, just simple Sears stuff. After 20 years at Sears, they laid her off in 1990. Shortly after that, she briefly worked cleaning motel rooms, which was an awful job. She hated it. Soon she saw an ad in the local newspaper about a job working at the deli at the Super Value on 56 in Chicago, which is now Kowalski's. That job required her to be on her feet all the time, which she loved. She was not a desk job kind of gal. She retired from Kowalski's in 2008 at the age of 75 to help take care of her son Tom, who had been diagnosed with brain cancer. In an interview this past January with a hospice aide, we caught a glimpse into some of her innermost thoughts. When asked what she was most proud of, she replied, "Raising her kids to be good citizens. They all turned out good." She also said she was lucky. It was an easy time, not like it is now. "My life was simple." Asked if she would do anything differently, she replied, "I can't think of anything I would do differently." She was also asked if she had any regrets. She said she didn't really have any, except that she wished she had known her mother adult to adult, as she passed when Ginny was 27 years old. She really missed her. She followed that up with, "Life was good on the farm. I have no regrets." How awesome is that? That was Ginny's life, according to Ginny. Going forward are thoughts and memories by those who loved her most. Judy said that growing up, Ginny was all about running the household. It was always clean. Of course, the deep cleaning happened in the fall and the spring. She was also the disciplinarian, taking care of situations as they arose. She would sew all the girls' clothes. Judy was in junior high, the first time they were able to get store-bought clothes. She once spent $12 on a cool pair of snap-across hip-hugger jeans, only to have to return them because her mama said they were too expensive. When they bought a boat, Ginny bought swimsuits but made the cover-ups. She even made cover-ups for the grandkids as well. Then there was the knitting. Ginny would knit scarves, skate socks, mittens, and the ever-popular string mittens. On Sundays, everyone was to dress up for church, which was right next door. They would be decked out in their fancy clothes, dresses, and shoes. Laura remembers coming down the stairs in her fancy dress with the blow-up slip and her daddy saying how pretty she was. Saturday night would be the night to set the girls' hair for the next day. Ginny also took care of the kids in the nursery during the church services. She would buy clothes for her grandchildren. When the boys were little, she would buy matching clothes for the cousins, but not the brothers. The brothers were not to be dressed the same. Friday nights were candy and popcorn from Sears. This is where the obsession for double-dipped chocolate-covered peanuts was born. When Lyle worked overtime, after dinner, they would go to the Parkway Theater. Judy and Laura remember seeing Mary Poppins several times. They always ate as a family at the table, and of course, there was always dessert. Baking was huge in the Vinje household. Laura said the first time she made a cake, she used cane sugar instead of powdered sugar, but her mama ate it anyway. They baked everything, including popcorn balls, divinity, peanut brittle, snickerdoodles, chocolate chip and chocolate drop cookies, and the famous rock cookies, which were a favorite with just about everyone who knew her. I would be remiss if I did not mention the most famous treats of all, the big-ass Rice Krispie treats and the Scotcheroos, which were present at every gathering from picnics to parties. They baked 2 cakes a week along with cookies, as they were also for Lyle's lunches. Our other childhood favorites were homemade malts in the summer, mac and cheese with Spam, and lasagna. All holidays were steeped in tradition with the same foods always. The only changes were as everyone got older, there were kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, and great-great-grandkids, which created a mountain of wrapping paper and lots of excitement on Christmas Eve. They always took family vacations. At first, they spent their time at the farm, which then progressed to resorts. When Ginny pointed out she was still having to cook, they started staying at hotels so she could enjoy herself as well. For Laura and Judy, some favorite farm memories are picking and eating the wild strawberries and blueberries, as they were so delicious. One time when Judy was about 16, she borrowed her dad's car in the winter and it broke down. After she got home, she was so cold her mama offered her some whiskey. As an adult, one of Judy's fondest memories was hanging out with Ginny, Lil, Marcille, and Orpha at a VFW fundraiser and playing bingo afterward. If you knew Ginny, you knew she was very handy. She could fix furniture, put in a toilet, and just about anything else she had a mind to. She redid all the woodwork, including crown moldings, window and door frames, and the front door of my house. She had a process for everything, especially gardening. She was always supervising us at the farm and everywhere else on how to do this or that, inside and out. Here are some of her favorite Ginnyisms. Running through 10 names before she finally got to the right one. She constantly switched names between Bob, her youngest brother, and Tom, her youngest son, calling each other the other one's name. She said it was because they reminded her of each other. When she was acting silly and got something wrong, she would call herself a dummy and then giggle. Or she would say, "Shut my mouth," and cover her mouth and giggle. It was times like this that Tom would say to his mama, "Jesus, Ginny." When the boys, any of them smarted off, she would say, "I will smack you," then try to give them the old backhand. She wasn't shy about yelling at anyone. Gary got the business a few years ago at the farm when she gave him a major tongue lashing for going out hunting at the farm after drinking all day. She was not pleased. At times when she was trying to get someone's attention, she'd call out, "Hey, guy." Good grief was a phrase she uttered often. All of Ginny's children are self-proclaimed wooden spoon survivors. From grandson Ty. Where do I begin? My grandma was one special woman. She was a strong, caring, family-first type of gal. I appreciate that so much about her. I have so many memories of my grandmother. I don't know where to begin, but I will start early in my life when it was clear to me that when other people had things to say or certain views about her for having colored grandchildren, she could have cared less because family was important and family is family. She showed me unconditional love throughout my life. Going to my birthday dinner at the rail station, formerly known as Jimmy's, was always a highlight of my year and something to look forward to. From going to resorts for vacation to J.C. Penney catalog shopping for Christmas, my grandmother would never let anyone down. She was that type of person. Holidays were especially special to me because she was the only grandmother I have ever known, and 34 of the 36 years I've been around, there is not one Christmas, not one Easter, not one Thanksgiving where my grandmother did not have a family gathering. That was special to me, and I appreciate those traditions. Breakfast for dinner, Carboni's hoagies, pizza, goulash with peanut butter bread, ice-cold milk, scotcheroos, maple nut goodie bars, and California bars are timeless classics, among others. Those are just my faves. Let me not forget German chocolate cake. I have multiple memories of faking sick at school, and Grandma comes to pick me up to save the day and take me out to eat. Back in the day, literally 3 to 4 nights out of every 7 days, she would pick me up from wherever I was and drop me off at home. She would make sure that she got something for me to eat before she dropped me off and probably gave me $10. From letting us drive our car at the farm at like 13 to 14 years of age and killing it with her perms for special occasions, my grandmother had brought so much joy to my life and instilled in me so many morals, family values, and traditions that I will forever be grateful. She will be missed dearly. Until we meet again, I love you, Grandma. Gone, but never forgotten. As for me, not related by blood, but by marriage, I have to say, I could never have picked a better mother-in-law if I tried. We always got along. There was always a mutual love and respect. When Tom was sick, we made every decision together, and at his funeral, we clasped hands before we walked up to the front of that church and united in our love for him. The experience bonded us forever. She was there for both of us when we needed her, and even retired to help take care of him. I treasure our time together on our road trips to the farm and our time at the farm. I always enjoyed hearing her stories and making fun cocktails for her to try. And try them she did, every last one of them. On our trips, we would always stop at the DQ in Cloquet, where she would buy me lunch for driving. As I found out a few weeks ago, she is a creature of habit and would also stop there when she and Jim Payne would travel to the farm. She loved herself some DQ. A tradition we had on our trips was that I would play the 50s on 5 on XM radio just for her. That was just something I started doing as I thought she would enjoy it. Last year, on the last trip we took together, I didn't turn it on right away as we talked for the first 90 minutes. Suddenly, she turns to me and says, "Where's the 50s station?" I switched it right away, saying we weren't listening anyway. A few weeks ago, when people started their final visits and I was at Laura's sitting with her, we were chatting and she said, "God will take me when he takes me." It's like, whatever. I just hope the boys don't lock me out. She provided so many comic relief moments that she didn't even mean to. That was the beauty of Ginny. Here's a woman who lost her parents, all 12 of her siblings, her husband and her 3 sons, David, Gary, and Tom, and kept going. No one would ever know the pain she held in her heart. Thank God she still had her daughters, Debbie, Judy, and Laura. We all said she was a tough old farm girl and one of the strongest women we've ever known. And while that was the image she portrayed, I don't know that she would have ever told us any different. She was a beautiful soul and one that will be sorely missed by all who knew her. I know I speak for everyone when I say we love you so very much and we are all better for having known you. Rest well, Virginia Laura May Lagerquist Vinje, until we meet again.